Hello, welcome everyone to The Distraction here on Fightful.com. I am Jeremy Lambert, joined as always by Joe Hulbert. Joe, Slayer of Wrestling features. You wrote about Goldberg. How'd that go for you?
I'm waiting for someone to find it and be like, "Hey, let's blame this guy." And that'll be the end of the Slayer of Wrestling features. It's a different vibe today. I would say the sun is out, but it is not. It's just a lot of rain, but it is bright at least.
I say it looks bright and
yeah, it's gleaming off the side of my pale face, as you can see there. So. Yeah, it's a different vibe. I'm very excited because we get to talk about things that aren't Super Showdown. So, win some, you lose some, right?
Yeah, if you want to hear our thoughts on Super Showdown, we were actually on the post-show podcast with a very... How would you describe Sean? Dejected and angry?
Yeah, enraged.
Enraged.
Yeah. Dejected feels too soft for it. I think there was more fire in it than that,
He was dejected by the end of it. It just felt like he'd given up.
Yeah, well, I don't blame him. Look, the thing is, Jeremy, is he's going to actually have to watch these shows. We can pretend to watch them with our show and just say don't make it a topic, but he has to actually watch them. So it's a different ball game,
I've got to watch them too, though. I got to write these articles on.
Yeah. Okay, let me speak for myself. I don't have to watch them, so I will just stop any topics of things I don't watch. But you can figure out why I don't watch in that sense,
Sean called us trolls on the podcast last night.
Yeah. I must admit, it was a very telling moment for this podcast because it was we really are on our own path here. Because I didn't realise people were going to be that angry. I was so accepting of it. I was like, yeah, sure. I don't know. I can't get that angry anymore. But yeah, I appreciate some people can.
It's funny because before the match happened, I was excited because I was like you. I was like, well, whatever happens, it's either going to be stupid or it's going to be kind of cool and awesome. Either way, Sean messages and just goes, "I'm dreading this." And this is before the match started. I'm just like, I'm very excited. And I think right then he knew, all right, what have I gotten myself? He called me Hulk Hogan last night. I perfected the Hogan of just bullshitting the story to make it sound grander, I guess.
Well, I must admit, again, I did a whole feature about this, so clearly I'm a culprit, but I will never not find some kind of enjoyment out of the Goldberg stuff. It's just hilarious to me. I find everything about it funny. I honestly do. Some of it's legitimately exciting to me. This match wasn't. I'll be honest.
No.
But I don't know, man. It's it. Again, we spoke about it yesterday. Or we tried to calm Sean with our own style of analysis. But yeah, it is what it is. I was very much ready for that result. Didn't surprise me.
Check out Fightful.com. Again, you can listen to the post-Saudi podcast with myself, Joe, and Sean. Sean posted a clip of his epic triggered rant that he went on with Goldberg and Bray Wyatt. Check out FightfulSelect.com. I think Alex Pulowski did a free preview of Sour Graps that was on the website last night talking about the Saudi show. But if you want more of Alex Pulowski and his rants where he's dejected and enraged about pretty much everything, I feel like, whether it's Raw or SmackDown. Not NXT and AEW. He does the post-show on Wednesdays with Warren and Sean. But if you want to hear his dejected and enraged thoughts elsewhere, FightfulSelect.com. You get that podcast, you get early access to Joe's features, you get a bunch of news and exclusives and extra audio and things like that. So that's the best way to support everything we do. I need that second pool for my kids, much like the OC. That's why they went back to
By the way, what a team they are in Saudi Arabia. Let's give them some love, man. We glossed over that last night, right?
Them and Mansoor. You pair up those three, that's the unbeatable trio in Saudi.
Never open weight 6-man tag champs, right? Of the future.
Saudi open weight 6-man.
Yeah.
We are going to be talking about a lot of AEW Revolution this weekend. Big show. Very excited for this show. If you want to hear us talk about good things, listen to this show, because we're going to talk about AEW. We're going to talk about the return of John Cena on SmackDown. We're going to talk Elimination Chamber, a little bit of Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, that's wrestling, right? And Zion Williamson and LeBron this weekend as well. So that's definitely not wrestling. But Ric Flair was at the Lakers game.
He was, yes.
So
do we know why? Or did just...
He was just there to hype up the team. It was his birthday. The Lakers probably just said, hey, you want to come give a pregame speech? And Ric Flair, being Ric Flair, was like, how much you paying? And then they made the deal.
Fine with me. He seems to be enjoying himself, right? Yeah. So, it's fine with me.
The gimmick on this show is we put time on a clock. We talk about that topic until the time expires, and then we still kind of keep talking about the topic. We go over the time, so it's our show. What are you going to do? All right, let's start with AEW, Joe, and we're actually going to put 10 minutes on the clock for this. Man, big time. Never gone to the 10-minute mark, but there's a lot to talk about with this AEW show. AEW Revolution, Cody actually said this could be their WrestleMania, like their big one, making it sound like they have a very cool stage design for this, like a bigger entrance than normal. I don't know what he was hinting at, but that's a bold claim by one of the 4 co-executive vice presidents.
Yeah, I always just assumed it would be either All Out or the Vegas show in May, which I always assumed. But Revolution is, I guess, kind of like it fits their actual brand rather than just constantly going back to the origins of it, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what the stage and stuff looks like. They've done a pretty good job with that in general, right? Like the shows look great. They look big time, and then sometimes they look a little bit wacky, which is always a bonus. There's a lot of WCW there, I feel. So yeah.
Yeah, they've done a good job with the Full Gear stage was cool. They always do a good job of like interacting with the stage too. Like they'll have matches that kind of go all over the place and they'll break things. And like the Bash at the Beach stuff was very good, and obviously the Jericho Cruise was a big aesthetic. Main event, Chris Jericho, Jon Moxley for the AEW Championship, AEW Tag Team titles, Omega and Page against the Young Bucks, Women's Championship, Nyla Rose, Chris Statlander. We got Cody MJF, Dustin Rhodes, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, Pac and Orange Cassidy, and I guess Dark Order and SCU is on the buy-in show. Joe, what stands out to you on this card?
The big 3, I think, is the Cody MJF, Moxley, Jericho, and the tag titles. For me, I'm most into Cody MJF. I'm legitimately fascinated to see how... Like, I'm interested they're just going to have Cody win, which I don't think is going to happen. So then the question becomes, how do you avoid that? I'm interested to see what kind of match they go with. We've seen Cody do like some longer matches on the pay-per-views, right? But this feels like it could be a little bit different, I think. This could be more violent than it is like a sort of lengthy classic. But... them 3 will have a lot of... I must admit, I don't want to overdo the praise and stuff because it's just a good wrestling show. But this pay-per-view is really excellently built too. And each week of February has been an amazing month for them. I feel like every TV they've nailed. So it's a massive credit to them too that they left Cody and MJF off of this week's show. And the show I thought was still excellent. So... That's a big positive. For me, it's Cody and MJF, but Moxley and Jericho's cool. And the tag titles, I'm fascinated as to what they do with that. I think you may have seen a little something this week with the Bucks being the heels of the picture,
I think that's going to be the best wrestling match, the tag team title match. And they'll do a lot of little things that people pick up on if you watch everything Dark and Being the Elite and follow all the Twitter stuff and whatnot. But I think from just a pure entertainment, balls to the wall excitement aspect, it's going to be tough to top that match. I think Cody and MJF will be very story based because that's pretty much what Cody has done for his AEW career, and he's done it excellently. We've talked many times how Cody has just been a god in AEW and just the wrestling industry over the past year.
Yeah, I want to say something. I don't want to give myself some credit, Jeremy. I watched AEW Dark this morning, so I would like for everyone just who's watching this now to take a moment to think for me. I supported a product that was a big step for me because I know what's coming next week.
Yeah,
Jeremy. So I thought I'd prepare myself, and I must say I enjoyed it. I didn't realise they packed that much wrestling in the show though. I thought it was more like a sort of like a recap thing with like 2 matches. It's not that at all. There's just matches, long matches. What do you think is what's your lock of the night, Jeremy? What's your pick? You're saying that's a guaranteed win or loss?
Pac and Orange Cassidy, I feel like, is a guaranteed
As I was
win.
asking the question, I realised,
I don't know how you're going to beat Pac on that. I think Hager over Rhodes is pretty much a lock as well. I'm not sure why you're going to have Dustin Rhodes win that match. Everything else, Nyla over Statlander is probably a safe bet. I can't see them taking the title off of Nyla this quickly. That's the one match where it feels very cold. I watched the countdown gimmick, and like that was good. They did a good job of building that, but there's been like nothing of that on TV. It's just Nyla won the title. She cut a really good promo, then Statlander booped the title, and then like Big Swole came out, and then Big Swole lost the next week, and then Statlander was just given the title shot. Neither woman was on the show this week, and it's just like, all right, what are we doing here? But that's the one match that feels cool. It'll probably be good. Like both ladies are good, but
part, right? Like story wise, that hasn't got any kind of hook for me. But I am just interested to see how good it is, because I didn't know how good or bad Nyla Rose was, but I thought her match when she won the title was great. The question is how much of that was reho. Like I'm just interested what her and Statlander. I'm sure it'll be fine. I just wonder if it will look out of place almost, because the crowd, let's be honest, they're probably going to be fine uphill a little bit, and with the crowd, like there's a lot of stuff on here that's going to have a huge amount of investment, and we just said, like, through no fault of their own, this one is pretty slim on like story and kind of ties between them. Like as you said, she did the promo and Statlander came out, but that Big Swole was there too, so that doesn't really have any impact. This show, I think, one of the benefits of what AEW's done so far is I have no doubts the show will be very good, and that's always a good starting point, right? Like we're discussing the booking and which way this will go, but like I think both of us are very assured this is going to be an excellent show, that's a big deal. I think at this point when you're asking people to pay money, especially.
I think Rhodes and Hager could be rough. Like I'm not a big Jake Hager fan. Yeah, but I imagine they'll keep that relatively short, and the crowd will have investment in Dustin. Like Pac and Orange Cassidy will be short, and the crowd will love everything Orange Cassidy does anyway. Everything else like is gonna be good through some means. Like Jericho Moxley. I mean, Jericho is what he is at this point. The guy still knows how to work a good match, especially with someone like Jon Moxley. Like, he doesn't overexert himself and do things that he could do 20 years ago. But the crowd is so invested in both guys that they're going to forgive anything, and they'll do some smoke and mirror stuff. Like, I was worried about Cody and Jericho, and they still went like 20 minutes and had a good match. Like, you can do the same thing here. I
do have some fears about that. I do think we have, like, I don't know if I want to see Jericho Moxley for 25 minutes, but you are right in saying that there was a lot of people, myself included, you just said it, that was like, that Jericho-Cody match could be, like, not too, it was pretty great. So, Chris has earned our faith at this point, right? I think we can say that much. He's earned it. Here's the thing, okay? So, I think Moxley's winning the title, personally. Am I on an island with this? It seems like everyone's just saying Jericho's going to keep the belt. I feel... Looking at the landscape, I don't see what next you do unless you just build to a rematch.
I don't think you're on an island. I've seen a lot of people lean more towards Jericho as well. I'm with you in thinking that Moxley is going to win, because I understand having Jericho as the champion, and there's always the money and the chase and everything. Yeah, you could do a rematch. The problem is, like, their shows are so far between that, like, I don't know if you can build a rematch for the next one. I mean, you can do it on Dynamite and stuff, but I don't know if they're trying to give away, like, Jericho Moxley 2 just on Dynamite. So I think Moxley's going to win the title. Maybe they will do the rematch, because they do the thing of the contractually obligated rematch. They did it with the tag team titles. I guess they're going to do it with the women's title, but maybe they will just do it on Dynamite. They'll do a special episode of Dynamite, Jericho Moxley 2, and with Moxley as the champion. But if Moxley wins, it feels too early to do Moxley and MJF.
Yeah, see, that's the... I don't know where. So the next pay-per-view is the May one we were talking about in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
So you've got 3 months effectively. So, I mean, I don't know how you're gonna. It does feel too early, but at the same time, the money angle still feels like MJF escapes this and gets the title, which then means that Cody can't wrestle him. So,
yeah.
Is it early? Probably, but I don't know, man. I know that people are kind of like they're not sure about MJF being ready and stuff, but this angle is just so strong that I would have no issue with them just embracing it. And because the thing as well is Moxley's not a guy who needs a long title reign. 3 months for a Moxley title reign is more than enough. And as you say, a Jericho rematch on TV would probably, you'd assume, do a good number. I think that's the route, actually, because as you pointed out, this isn't a thing where it's monthly pay-per-views. You can't just like run back matches, you know. Like these events are supposed to be huge, and I don't know if you could do 3 more months of weigh-ins and fun for a rematch. I just don't think. I think that's actually probably where we're headed, probably to Moxley MJF in Vegas.
See, you can do like a few weeks, maybe even a month's worth of Jericho goading for the rematch and everything, and yeah, you can do it on TV, but 3 months of that is a bit of a stretch. I mean, if you don't go with MJF after this, like where are you going after this with a heel? I mean, I guess Pac, you can do Moxley and Pac.
Yeah.
Moxley Omega, you could run that back in a sanctioned way. Their heel face dynamic can be iffy.
It's flexible in that sense, right? I guess the Dark Order element is there too. Like, no, I mean serious, Jeremy. Like, if they go with a certain guy, like they could just be skyrocketed. If it's Matt Hardy, then obviously he's not wrestling for the AEW title. But if it's like, if it was Archer, for example, I know it's probably not going to be because they've announced that, but for example, if it was Archer, they could do Archer and Mox, right? So that kind of deal, because they had that crazy wild match at Tokyo Dome. So
yeah, you've got Luke Harper coming in as well.
I like the Harper thing. Are you Team Harper or not?
I think it's fine. I think people overestimate that he's like this young hot prospect. Like he's 40 years old. I don't know how many more great years he has, but I do think he was underutilized in WWE, and I do think with the unrestrictions in AEW, he'll be able to thrive a little bit more. Like the problem with getting all of these guys, like you've got Archer coming in, maybe Jeff Cobb is coming in, Harper, and maybe Matt Hardy. Like you've got to find slots for these guys now. Like we've seen kind of how it's been with Sean Spears. Like he comes in and people are like, oh, he's gonna really show the world like why WWE misused him and stuff, and he's just like they even paired him up with Tully Blanchard, and it's like he's just a dude who wrestles on Dark, and he's like searching for a tag team partner, and it's just nothing.
I agree, but I do feel people kind of misread that situation, right? Like I don't think he was going there to be like a top guy. I think they were pretty much on the same wavelength as far as what he's there. He's there to be, I'm not going to do the good hand thing, but he's a player coach, right? That's what he is. Like that's what he was in NXT before the 10 thing got over. That's what people I think forget. So yeah, I didn't like the fact that you laughed at my Dark Order mention. Dark Order has not won me over, but I'm somewhat interested. The one that's interesting, do we know when the Revival's deal's up, or is that still like up in the air?
I think it's June for both. One is earlier than the other. I think one is in like May and the other one is in June. But they're not going to come in separately, I wouldn't imagine. No,
am I wrong in saying that if they do arrive eventually, like them versus the Bucks is a pay-per-view main event, right? Like, we have to remember the tag teams can main event these shows. So you can do Mox versus a lesser heel, as long as the tag title is like a big deal. Do you see what I'm saying? Their tag teams are kind of framed as a main event act, so it is a little bit different.
Yeah, they're 100% main eventing with Bucks and Revival, should that happen at some point this year. All right, let's move on. Let's jump to WWE. Tonight, SmackDown. Goldberg, as the champion, is going to pop a monster rating for the show. And some guy named John Cena is returning as well.
Yeah.
I guess that's a big deal. Joe, what are your thoughts on John Cena returning and potentially setting up a WrestleMania match with, I guess, The Fiend now?
The first half of your question, I have no issue with. I'm not going to pretend I'm excited for the match with the Fiend, but there's a story there, I guess, and it's always great to have Cena back. I do think perhaps we are ignoring some fleeting signs that John may not be what he once was the last time we saw him, because the last time we saw him, he didn't look like he was quite what he was. But
the last time we saw him, he did like the punch thing, and that was it.
What was the match he did? He did a long match, like shortly before he left.
Right. He did the tag team match with Becky. I think that was the last time he wrestled. Actually, Am
I imagining, like, didn't he do a long match in Saudi Arabia?
Oh, that was the Triple H match. Like that was.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That was like 2 years ago, though.
I remember watching that and thinking like, oh man, like maybe John's human, and then as you say, we're 2 years on, like.
That match was 100. That match was actually great because instead of the typical 40-minute Triple H match, it was just like a 15-minute house show match, and that was much better than expected.
I can't recall what like my basis on this was, but before John left, I remember feeling like the fact that he was missing so much time because he was doing other stuff was like affecting him, which is natural, right? It's impossible to just come back and split Trevor in, but it's always great to have him back. And Mania season with him, I think people are a lot more accepting of him coming back for this kind of show than they are some other fellows that won't be named that may or may not have just won the world title. You know what I'm saying? Like it's Cena, right? He still feels like he's from the era before, but he still feels associated with these guys more than Goldberg does, for example.
It's not only he feels associated with these guys, it's like John Cena is a big deal. Like this guy is a bona fide megastar. Like The Rock isn't associated with these guys, but if he comes back, it would still feel like a big deal because like it's not Goldberg. You know, John Cena is in big time blockbuster movies and commercials and stuff. Like this guy is a legitimate like star.
Yeah, when I say that, I don't mean from like logical, like objective. I mean just people that are really mad about the part-time and stuff. I think can swallow the Cena pill a lot easier because he was full-time for so long, and it wasn't that long ago, right, compared to the other guys. So that's, I mean, objectively speaking, clearly this is a bigger deal than anyone else coming back other than The Rock. And Austin, I guess. Austin coming back would be a big deal, right? But other than that, it's Cena. Cena's a big deal. The Fiend match will take some doing for me to get super excited for that, Jeremy. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I get there's a story there because John Cena kind of ruined that incarnation of Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 30, but yeah, I'm looking forward to John Cena's return. I'm actually not going to be able to watch it tonight, and I'm very disappointed about that because I'm a big fan of the GOAT John Cena, so I will catch the replay on that. It'll be good. John Cena is the man.
So it was WrestleMania 30 they wrestled.
Yeah, I was there. That was my first
6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a long time, dude. I mean, that's a long time to pull up a story and be like, "Hey guys, remember?" But they did it with Randy and Kofi, so it feels like we're in like an endless sort of cycle, you know. I'm not convinced we haven't been doing this podcast all along and we've only just realised it because it feels like we're just moving back around again and around again.
They're very good at like taking stuff from 10 years ago and then turning it into something nowadays, like Randy Kofi, like Randy and Edge, even like Kofi and like Dolph stuff. They did it a million times with Ziggler and Dolph. Like now Miz and Morrison. Like they're very good at like rehashing the past and like building off of that, but then not actually capitalizing in a way that makes you feel like you've been invested that entire time. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I get you, but I also think the real comedy in that is that they'll pull something back from 6 years ago, but then like 2 weeks between a babyface turn, they'll just forget these people were rivals ever. But that is amazing that they expect this. Just some things they're just like, no, they're not rivals anymore. They're both babyfaces. That's the way it is. And then they'll be like, do you remember in 2006 when Randy occurred? Like, you know, but I guess that's just wrestling, right? That's not a WWE thing. That's just the way it is.
Well, again, this is what we were kind of talking about off air. Like, they're great at just moments. Like, we're gonna
Yes.
like 10 years from now, when we're doing this podcast for ESPN or on WWE Network, I guess. We're gonna be talking about, man, remember? And this is, I'm gonna look bad because I can't recall any good moment recently. They're gonna run back like Becky and Charlotte again. And we're just going to be like, oh, man, remember 10 years ago when Becky and Charlotte at Evolution, like how cool that was and all this history? Or, like, this is where it's going to be really tough. Like, what's two, like, kind of stars nowadays who could be around and, like, be big stars in 10 years?
I mean, I guess, I don't know. I mean, again, we don't want to do the whole, like, that opens up a whole can of worms, right?
Like, who's Velveteen Dream and Aleister Black? Let's say them.
Okay.
That could be possible. Like, Velveteen Dream and Aleister Black, like 10 years from now, we're gonna talk about, like, oh, remember their NXT feud and how he wanted him to say his name and everything. Like, oh, they're now 10 years later, like they're coming back full circle.
Okay, but like, this is the thing, and I realized this earlier, and I honestly didn't even know, like, if you looked at Roman's WrestleMania opponents, just like one after the other, how crazy it is. He's wrestled like one full-time guy in the whole time. So there's not even like a feud for him as the top guy that we can look back on and be like, that was the thing that Roman did. He just wrestled a cycle of guys coming back from the eras before. So, yeah, we're going to have to go to NXT, I guess. But you are right in the sense that they are the greatest at showing you old stuff and making you think it was awesome. They are amazing at that. They're the best at that, right? Like, you watch it like, man, it was way better then. You know, like,
10 years from now, when like 30 people are watching, that's where the ratings will be at this rate. It's just like everyone who has to review this stuff. And that's it. Over on the Raw side, I guess we can stick with SmackDown. What is going on with Elimination Chamber? That's my only comment. What is going on with Elimination Chamber?
I was looking, I'll paint a picture for you, Jeremy. This is last Friday. It feels like, genuinely feels like years ago at this point. And I was NBA 2K My League mode, okay? SmackDown did not exist in my head, alright? I was running the league, okay? And I go on Twitter and I just see, so Lacey said about the chamber, does this mean 3 Elimination Chambers? And like, I'm not going to say that I reacted in any kind of vivid, like, crazy way, but there was definitely a pain that struck me at that time, like an ache. And I was just thinking, how have they not realised that's bad? 3 chamber matches, like, it's a match built on violence and how dangerous it is, and you're going to do 3 of them in one night. Why? Who's asking for 3 chamber matches? I don't get that situation. Oh, the SmackDown one is very scary. I'm going to be honest with you, Jeremy, this is very, very scary, because this could go away that is doom, and that is Lacey. I know that originally on this podcast I pretended people like Lacey. I'm done with the Lacey thing, okay? This Renee interview was like, man, it was brutal. I don't know what the situation is. If they go that route, I don't know how anyone can say that's the way to go in this division. They have options in this division, man. They've run through them all. I don't understand the situation here. I just don't get it.
The weird thing about this is they announced the Raw Women's Chamber just online one day.
Yes.
It's like, all right, here's the women in the match. They're going to face Becky. And like after they'd already done the angle with Shayna, so they essentially tipped their hand on that entire thing. And then, yeah, last Friday on SmackDown, Lacey's just like, I'm going to be in the chamber and I'm going to win, get my title shot. And Sheamus said the same things. Like, I'm going to go through 5 other guys and I'm going to win. It's like, when was this chamber match announced? Like, I didn't know these were things.
I assumed the SmackDown men's would be a thing. Just because of the way it's set up. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think we all know who's going to win it. That's fine. But I almost wonder if they got to a point with the SmackDown men's and the Raw women's where they're like, we need a chamber that's less predictable. I'm being honest, I honestly think this could have been a real thing that went through their heads, because I don't get who's asking for this. The Raw division never needed a chamber. They never ever needed a chamber. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I guess SmackDown's chamber can be pretty good, right, on paper, at least.
Well, you're going to have, for the men's, you're going to have Roman, Sheamus, Shinsuke, maybe?
Sure. Okay, I'm wrong. I'm wrong, Jeremy. It's not
Ziggler, Corbin's definitely going to be in it.
Yes.
Corbin's definitely going to be in it. Brian? I don't know if he's going to be in it, though. They have guys who can be in it. I just don't know what direction they're going to go in. And like you said, we all know, Roman's going to win, so it's just you're putting guys in there to fill space. This is where you should put in, Ziggler and Otis. Give that a little bit extra to the story.
Would you find it hilarious if they did the thing where they put Ziggler, Rude, and Corbin all in and did the heel 3-on-1 thing? Roman overcomes. That would be strong, wouldn't it? That'd be great. And then the other thing is, SmackDown's division's got enough talent for a chamber match, but they've got no heels. So, unless you want to just do a 6 babyface chamber, that's fine. I guess if you want to do that, but
yeah, what are you're doing? Lacey, I guess Alexa, Nikki, Naomi, Carmella,
and I guess Sasha Banks if she's back.
If she's cleared,
she's a babyface wife, effectively in that match, right? Because people are going to cheer for her in that match. So the only person that will get booed in that match is Lacey.
Yeah, Sasha's going to be the one working heel, but she's. I don't understand. Do you know Elimination Chamber is next weekend?
Yeah, because when I have to figure out my features and stuff. So first thing first, I originally opted to write back Goldberg because I assumed he wouldn't be on WrestleMania. So that massive backfire. And I've been looking at this chamber card. I have no idea what I'm going to do. So yeah, I'm aware. I'm very scared about that fact. But do you think I'm off base on this Lacey Evans situation? Am I misreading it, or is this definitely what's going to happen?
I don't know if Lacey's going to get any reaction, whether it's booing or cheering.
Do you think she's the front runner to win this match? Because I'm convinced of it now.
No, I still think it's Naomi. I don't know why I have this blind faith that they're gonna go with Naomi when literally everything is pointed to it's not gonna be Naomi. Maybe I'm thinking that it's just a Kofi situation where all right, you beat him. Yeah, but then he gets his ultimate redemption moment at Mania.
It didn't feel quite as grand though, did it? Kofi was so courageous in defeat, and Naomi just got her foot stuck in her shirt. It's not really the same. I'm not saying I didn't like the finish. It's just not how I would go about preparing my babyface. Yeah, I don't know. We didn't talk about this, and probably for good reason, it wasn't a topic, but I was watching the Carmella and Naomi thing, and I was just I don't know what is going on. I don't understand this division. I don't get what we're supposed to feel about it. It feels like Naomi was super hot when she came back and had a lot of momentum, and just with each SmackDown appearance, they eroded it a little bit more without even intending to. See what I'm saying?
Well, they just had her lose to Carmella in that one match, and it's terrible.
That was so avoidable as well because. And without doing the easy whining about booking, you had Dana in the match. That's just nonsense. It's just ridiculous, right? And also she could win a match to get a shot 3 weeks later. It wasn't even a redemption story. She just won the next match. Totally pointless.
They did the same thing, and this is our next topic, with kind of Bianca, and everyone was clamoring for Bianca Belair to get inserted into the women's triple threat for the NXT, or the women's title match for the NXT women's title with Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. And so they did Charlotte and Bianca on NXT, and people thought, all right, well, Bianca can win here, make her claim, get into the match. No, Charlotte just beat her, and we'll see what happens with Bianca, but Charlotte just beat her.
Yeah, look, we have to be, let's be honest, mate. They think very highly of her. The Rumble thing shows us that, but she's now had 2 major matches, one with Rhea and one with Charlotte, where she lost in the most bizarrely flat, un-NXT fashion you'll ever see in a major match, right? TakeOver had 25 finisher kickouts, and she just got pinned flat. The crowd didn't really expect it. And this Charlotte finish, I did not believe for a second that was the end of the match. This match didn't do a lot for me anyway, so this was a major negative, I thought. And then you had the wacky post-match. Where do you stand on the wacky post-match? When I watched it live, I thought the idea was that Rhea didn't care about Bianca Belair, so she... But then other people were saying that there's supposed to be a respect element there that Mauro was talking about. I have no clue, by the way, what one of these is true. When I watched it, I didn't think it was a problem, but then as I've seen it more and more, it does seem hilarious. So
When I watched it, I thought the same thing of, oh, Rhea just doesn't really,
Yeah.
You know what the thing is like I've been so conditioned with WWE to just be like accepting of some of this stuff and to not let it bother me that when I saw her do her like wacky stomp thing, I was like, all right, whatever. Like that's just what she does. Like why wouldn't she do it in this moment? And then when I tried to like think about it, I was like, yeah, she just doesn't care. But then when you think about it more, it's like, all right, even if you don't care,
Like, yeah, what?
why do you need to do this?
Why come out if you don't care, right? Like, I hate to say this because I'm a fan of hers. This is nothing to do with her. They are on like a fast track to destroying Rhea because they're going to frame her so obviously as the chosen one that the way things work, the audience will just get a resentment towards her. And Bianca will be like the opposite of that coin. Do you see what I'm saying? I think they're in a dangerous spot with Bianca. It's not because, and everyone does this thing, right, where people complain, everyone's like, she lost to Charlotte, it's not a big deal. We're aware that losing to Charlotte's not a big deal. We're talking about the presentation of it. She got pinned flat and then beat up post-match and was like just watching on as Rhea and Charlotte set up their Mania match. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that's the issue we're talking about. This isn't a babyface underdog, okay? The character is built on being the best. That's the whole point of the thing. You can't just keep beating characters like that. You can, I guess, because she's going to come up and they'll just start fresh. But this just felt like an unnecessary... I guess they thought we would pop a rating, which it didn't. Obviously, we could have told them that for free. I don't know. I didn't even like the match. That's the worst part for me. Like, the Charlotte thing is weird, man. Like, I think very highly of Charlotte. But this situation where she's either in a title program or they just have nothing to do with her is like super just limiting to what you can do with her in general, you know?
An issue is that they don't know how to tell any kind of a story without any title. And that's the problem with Charlotte right now is she's got to be in the title picture or she's just kind of there like beating people because they're not going to have her lose to the Sarah Logans of the world. The Bianca stuff is in Andrew Thompson brought this up on Twitter. It's very Braun Strowman of we want to get behind this person, and they do this with a lot of people. Like it's not just with Strowman and Bianca, but it was a good comparison of we want to get behind this person, but every time we give them they did it with Bray Wyatt years ago as well. But then when they get these big matches, they just lose, and it's like you can't keep calling them monsters or saying like they're the eater of worlds or saying they're the EST and then keep losing keep having them lose in all these matches. Like then all their claims are just false, and then what are they going on after that? Like now they're just speaking a bunch of lies.
I didn't want to do this, Jeremy, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to bring up the Ricochet thing again, okay? Because the thing is, okay, is the whole build for the match is Ricochet shouldn't be able to win the match, correct? Do you realise the power of just having, like, if Ricochet just lands 3 drop kicks and stuns Brock, it helps him. And Brock wouldn't be hurt any, and they still just killed him. And it's like, if you're one of the few people that's stuck with that awful superhero rhetoric they pushed, like, they've totally ruined your interest at this point, right? Like, that's the same thing. It's just a different character because that is an underdog babyface. But it's like there's only so many times you can have someone say stuff that then they absolutely fail to back up before like people just go, okay, I still like that person, but I don't care. That's a real thing. We've seen it happen, and I feel like WWE has convinced fans now that like we're just supposed to accept that following a wrestler is like suffering, and then hopefully eventually like they'll just catch fire. Like this isn't how it's supposed to work. I think. Come on, give me something to latch onto if I like these people. And again, we're not saying it's doomed for Bianca. It's not at all. They think very highly of it. It's obvious. But just you got to be careful with the presentation and then how you handle them when the bell rings. There's got to be a connection there. Otherwise, it's very hard for me to commit myself to like investing in the character. I can enjoy them, but investment's a different thing at that point.
Bret Hart used to always say this, if you listen to a lot of his interviews, of he never wanted to lie in his promos. So if he had a match and like he knew he was going to lose the match, like in the build to the match, he would never say like, oh, I'm gonna beat you. Like I'm gonna beat you. He would say like, I'm gonna hurt you. something like that. So that way, you know, he wasn't a liar when he said I was going to beat you, knowing he wasn't going to win. Like, he would word it differently. And, like, that's what it feels like they do with a lot of these guys. Is, okay, Ricochet is a superhero. Like, nothing can stop him. And then he just loses to Brock Lesnar in 2 minutes. Like, Bray Wyatt, nothing can stop him. He's superhuman. Just completely squashed. Bianca's the best. Just loses clean. It's like, these people are just lying in all of their promos, and you know, how am I supposed to trust these people moving forward?
Yeah, and again, we're not idiots. We're aware that everyone has to lose for the most part, right? The Fiend thing is a little bit unique because while the character wasn't for me or you, it's like a supernatural thing, and kind of beating it in any way is brutal. But with other wrestlers, we understand. None of us thought Ricochet was beating Brock Lesnar. None of us really even thought Bianca was going to beat Charlotte in our heart of hearts. It's just, you have to present them in a way that is befitting of their whole brand and character. That's all it is. And that isn't asking a lot. We're not here asking for high art. You know what I'm saying? Like, I literally just asked for 3 drop kicks from Ricochet. That's all I asked for, Jeremy. So, that's all. It's a real complaint that I think has damaged a lot of guys in the past. Braun is an amazing example of it. Because at some point, fans are like, we still love this guy, but we understand the situation now. We're not going to commit ourselves to investing in when we know where it's headed, you know?
Did Ricochet even backflip out of a suplex?
No.
I didn't think so.
He run at Brock, and Brock just, like, pushed him.
Yeah.
And then just hit, like, suplexes and pinned him. It was so flat. It was crazy. It was just unnecessarily flat. Because, again, like, in an ideal world, that match is a proper match, like in the vein that Brock's matches with AJ and Bryan was, because legitimately Ricochet can do stuff with Brock that no other wrestler in the world can. But I'm not even asking for that. Like, I'm not even asking for an 8-minute sprint. I'm literally just asking for some hope spot, just to give his fans something to latch onto. The guy just got murdered. Like, what was the need for this? You know, like, it's bizarre. I don't get it at all.
Samoa Joe.
Oh, man. Oh, no.
I think I just depress you more by moving on. There's no smooth transition there. The transition was depress Joe. Samoa Joe suspended 30 days for a wellness violation. It's been a rough few months for Samoa Joseph, and not happy to see it because I love this dude. He's awesome, and I tweeted it out when he got hurt earlier this year. Is like, Joe's been under contract for like 4 years, and he's had one WrestleMania match that lasted a minute, and that just feels so wrong. Yeah,
there's a lot of ways to approach this, Jeremy. There's a lot of sadness in this story because I think timing has kind of doomed him. There's also, like, you can look at it on the bright side, and that's what I'm going to try to do today, Jeremy, because there was a time where the safest bet was that you would never see Joe in WWE, right? And we still got some cool stuff out of it, right? Like, the Brock Lesnar deal was awesome. The AJ program was cool and like a super weird moment in history. But as of right now, it is very hard to maintain that positivity because it feels like we're looking at the end of... I mean, Joe's always a player when he's around because he's such a good promo and the audience loves him. But we have to be honest in saying that, you know, they're done with the idea of him as like a centerpiece. And at this point, and I'm never this guy, but I can't blame them for that. That's just the reality of the industry, right? That's the way it should be. They've got so many options. They've got such a great roster. And as great as Joe is, you just can't, like, this is just, there's so many factors now leading up to this. And the thing that worries me in all seriousness is, we hope his health is good, right? That's the main thing, because that dude's had a lot of crazy matches. And the last thing he needs is to get hit by the concussion thing. That could be just, I don't know when he'll get cleared if he's had 2 concussions in a short amount of time. So I hope he's good. This is sad, but I'm positive in the long term. At least we got like some cool stuff out of it, I guess.
I think we got some cool stuff out of it. That AJ thing, it was good in a moment of history because of all their history. That feud wasn't that good.
See, I was a fan. I understand, Jeremy.
What a dumb way to build a feud between those two.
Well, yeah, honestly. But, they wasn't going to go to Dixie Carter and be like, hey, guys, remember these great All Mix matches coming up at SummerSlam? Like, I get it, and the thing with Joe is, see, this is the thing. I agree with you But I think it's a credit to them that they did the most WWE feud ever and did it like pretty well. You see what I'm saying? Like Joe was. That's the crazy thing about Joe is like he's so great.
He is.
He's just excellent. Everything they give him the most wacky WWE stuff and he nailed it. He's amazing. But this is this is probably the end of the road of him being like a big like wow Joe's back. I feel like now he's just going to be a part of the wheel, which is probably fair.
I think what helps for Joe in this regard is by signing with WWE and by proving that like he's excellent at every single role he gets. He's gonna just have a job for life there. Like once he does retire from the ring, they can move him to commentary. They can have him do the backstage if that show's still around. They can have him do WWE digital stuff. They can have him do a WWE network show. Like there's so much you can do with this guy, and I think that is a good thing for Joe in that. Because he's with this company, like he's just going to be pretty much set for life. And if you listen to Joe in interviews, like he's very smart with his money and he's very smart with his decisions to where he's going to be one of those guys that you're just going to keep seeing on your TV screen, hopefully for the next 10, 20 years as he just does kind of what, Joe in like 10 years after he's like retired and stuff, he's going to have that big Mania match. He's going to get the Goldberg push in 10 years.
It's just amazing. Like he legitimately maybe their best colour commentator.
Yes.
And he's not a colour. Here's a question. Is he a Hall of Famer in WWE? He is, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Anytime someone asks, like, is he a WWE Hall of Famer, like, my initial response is just yes, because why wouldn't they?
Joe's kind of a weird one, right? Because he's, like, if you count in NXT, he's obviously in, because he actually was very important to NXT. He was, like, the first guy that they signed as just like, he didn't come to the PC and all that stuff, but he has had a weird WWE run, but you're right. If you have a feud for the WWE title, you're probably going to go in, right? It's just the way it is.
They're reportedly putting Liger in. Like, Liger isn't anybody in WWE history. I mean, he is in, like, WCW history and in other places across
But they count that now, right? Like, WCW is, like, part of the... I think it is. I don't know.
Yeah, but didn't they put, like, Inoki in? And, like, he doesn't really have anything to do with any of these companies. Like, they'll just put anybody. Like, you could say, is Tucker a WWE Hall of Famer? I'd be like, yeah, sure. Why wouldn't Tucker go into the WWE Hall of Fame?
Well, in that case, this is all positive because Joe is going to have an awesome speech, and it's right that he gets his moment to be accepted as a legend because that's the thing. Like, you're right about the Hall of Fame, but I'll never care about it. I'm fine to watch the speeches I want to watch and ignore the ones I don't.
Yeah.
But it is cool that Joe got this run because it does. Historically, no one can question how great he was because he got over an insane amount with the WWE audience, the main roster audience. He got over huge with them. So, if nothing else, it gives some validation to how great everyone said he was.
I've sold myself on the idea that 10 years from now, Samoa Joe's just going to be champion as the part-time run. And they're going to do these video packages on Joe that just made him look like the absolute killer of this era. Like, he's going to be killing Roman Reigns, and be killing AJ, like, Shinsuke, like, all of these guys. And they're just going to be like, oh, man, Samoa Joe, let me tell you, in his prime WWE, which wasn't really his prime, no one was touching this guy. Lesnar, like, they're going to show him beating up Lesnar and stuff. 10 years from now, if you're a Samoa Joe fan, just stay alive for 10 more years. It's going to be worth it.
I'm excited now. I'm so pumped for him to go after Wendy again in 2030. It's going to be amazing. I'm all in on this.
We're going to move on to some boxing talk. Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. We might see Tyson Fury at WrestleMania. Had their big rematch this past weekend. Tyson Fury wins by knockout. The big story to me is Deontay Wilder lost because he had 40 pounds of gimmick on before the match. What an amazing excuse. I love this excuse.
Man, his head trainer used this, and I was like, wow, that's incredible. And the fact that Wilder just doubled down on it was amazing. Jeremy, are you not a big boxing guy? I guess it doesn't feel like anyone is.
I'm a boxing guy for like big fights because Carlos is in the chat and Carlos is always talking about boxing and I ask him any question that I have about it and he's super knowledgeable. Everyone follow Carlos Toro 360 on Twitter. But yeah, I'll watch the big fights, but otherwise, I'm not really paying too much attention.
this was a major deal. I feel. I mean, it's hard to know now because Bill Goldberg won the title at 53 years of age, totally eclipsing the achievement. But like, Fury's kind of like put himself in a history books here, man. This is a wild win, wild, pun intended. Fury is amazing. This is craziness. Like, I totally believed him when he said he was going to be aggressive and all that business. That didn't surprise me because he's so much bigger. But I just felt like I just didn't trust his concentration because he's kind of Fury's a little bit of a unpredictable guy. You know, he's a little bit wild, and I just felt Wilder would clip him, even though I knew Fury was better, clearly better. But this is the thing with the Wilder, like we all fell in love with the right hand. This was a beatdown. I've not seen a major fight this one-sided, in the sense that it wasn't a one-punch knockout. It was just a beating over and over and over again. I don't think I can recall one. Mayweather would beat guys 12-0 on points, but it was never this, like, Wilder had no say in what was happening in that ring. That's craziness for a major fight. Like, he was helpless. And Fury he was on him from the first bell. So, Fury's legitimately great. Not just like the modern boxers that we pretend are great because we want to make ourselves feel better for watching the sport. He's actually great. He gained like 150 pounds and then just KO and came back and become the heavyweight champ again. So, yeah, all how, I guess. I don't know. This was wild, man. Did it feel like a big event for you guys in America? Because like here, it was obviously a big deal because of Fury, but it's on at 5 a.m, so it's a little bit tough.
It felt big because I guess big boxing fights are kind of few and far between nowadays. So anything that does feel semi-big feels extra big. It's kind of the same thing with UFC. Like, there's a UFC card next weekend that no one cares about, but like anytime McGregor fights, like, all right, this feels like a big deal. So it did feel big. I can't claim I've watched a ton of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder fights. I did watch their first one, and it seemed like the consensus was Fury was either going to win by decision or Wilder was going to knock him out because I guess that right hand is extremely deadly, and people just figured, he's going to catch him with that right hand at some point. But Fury just... Look, I was never going to doubt a man that knocked out Braun Strowman. I mean, the Intercontinental title is a pretty big deal in the world of wrestling, and Fury just made Braun Strowman look like a punk.
Easy work.
Yeah,
easy work.
So I don't know why so many people were down on Tyson Fury coming into this fight.
I think, like, I'm not trying to, disrespect anyone's boxing knowledge, but it feels like people think boxing's like a video game thing where you fill in the stats and it's like, Fury's not that big of a puncher. Listen, man, he's 270 pounds, okay? If he hits a guy clean with the right hand, he's not good for the guy he's hitting. Like, I always felt if he got aggressive, he could stop him. I just didn't pick it because he's just crazy, man. He's a crazy cat. He does wild stuff in there. This is the guy who, when he fought Klitschko, like in the middle of the fight, just put his hands behind him, punch him in the face. Klitschko's heavyweight champ for 10 years. So, I didn't trust his concentration, but I made a fool of myself, Jeremy. I should have backed the Bret. But this was very good. This was the exciting moment of the week. I'm glad you gave me this. You threw me this bone. You allowed me to enjoy myself with some boxing talk. This will probably happen once a year because, as you say, the big fights are kind of fleeting. And I'm looking forward to the third fight when Wilder has a more slender ring attire.
He's gonna come out. He's gonna come out in just his underwear. Like, that's it.
Yes.
He's gonna put his trunks and his cup on in the ring, and that way, no weight. Like, he's gonna be warming up backstage in just his underwear. That's it. This man is not going to have any weights on him at all.
I couldn't believe, like, the way they outed Mark Breland for throwing the towel in was insane. I could not believe it. He was so far gone in that fight. There was nothing. It was over. He did the right thing, and especially when they have a rematch clause. So he has a way of just running it back. And he was like, no, go on your shield, man. Come on. Like, this. Surely in 2020 we've figured out that's not the attitude to take as a trainer, at least. Wilder can say it once, but the head trainer being like, I should have just left him in there. He'd have figured it out. It's craziness.
That's the thing with all combat sports is, I don't know, you probably didn't watch Carolina Clavacchio. I probably said that wrong.
I did, yes.
She got destroyed.
That was crazy. How did they not pull her out after the second round?
Yeah, what? and like you see her post-fight on Instagram where she's like all bandaged up and just like completely questioning like everything in life, and it's like, why don't these more corners should stop these fights? Like, I never blame a corner person for throwing in the towel. I understand fighters want to like go out on their shield and stuff. Like, think of long term. Like, if you know you're not getting back in this fight, like you're just getting your ass kicked and everything, like just get him out of there.
I think there's a fault in MMA that because it's the fights of 3 rounds and because there's so many dynamics in an MMA fight, right? It's like, I think corners are so scared to pull their fighter out because it's like, there's 5 more minutes. And she tried to get like a heel hook. So in boxing, it's insane because like genuinely at the top level, one punch comebacks are not that like frequently seen. Wilder is more than capable of it, but if you were watching the fight, like, come on, we saw that was happening there, right? Like he wasn't making any one punch comebacks. So yeah, you're right though. Like we know enough now about what's going on in there and the damage to just be thinking, okay, let's not let the guy go out on his shield, regardless of what he says. Let's do the right thing for his health. He's his father and stuff. There's just no need for it.
Yeah, I agree. In MMA, people can say there are the different dynamics. Like, oh, you can catch a submission. You're
still right. Yeah.
Because of the gloves, you can catch this punch. But, like, how many times does that happen? You know what I mean? Like, if you see a beatdown across 2 rounds or 4 rounds, if it's a title fight, chances are in that final round, there's not going to be like this major comeback. Like Tim Bosch did it against Yushin Okami.
Yes,
and like everyone cites that, and that was like 10 years ago, and it's like literally the only example anybody can give of like this major comeback. It's like, all right, you picked one out of like the 500 fights that happen a year.
Dude, the best. I mean, we got to move on from random MMA fights from back in the day. So I'll do more like modern one. But how awesome was it when after Nate lost to Masvidal, he was like,
yeah,
the game plan was simple. You know, we get our ass kicked for 3 rounds, we come back in the 4th, and I genuinely saw it on social media being like, you heard what he said, and that's when I realised that not everyone has watched as much Diaz as like maybe me and you have. It's like, you cannot trust what these men say about their fights. They've never lost a fight by their own like recognition. They've never lost. I love the Diaz brothers, but if you listen to what he said and was like, there you go, heard it from the, you know, it's craziness.
That was perfect. Like, that fight worked out so perfectly for Nate because he would have just easily lost like a 50-43 decision or maybe even gotten finished in one of the later rounds. But yeah, because it got stopped like that, he could just be like, you know, my gas tank is outstanding. We knew he was going to tire. We were going to take over late. Like that. Yeah, the Diaz brothers have never lost, which is why I love them as well.
They're great, yeah. They're also great pro wrestlers like Tyson Fury, right? That's the truth of it. So Fury's doing something with Corbin at WrestleMania, right? We can lock this in. It's happening.
I would imagine they're working pretty hard for that.
Because they did stuff with him when he wasn't nearly as like famous as he is now. So, I mean, now look, I know there's a lot of opinions about Tyson's wrestling performance, and I understand that. But his personality can be suited to it. It's just I think they have to figure out a way of doing it outside of in-ring promos where he's terrified because he can't swear. Like, you might have to do something a bit different with him if you're going to bring him in to do like character stuff, you know?
I think you just let him be Tyson Fury.
Yeah, no, exactly. But like sending him out to do an interview where you can see in his face he's trying to remember the lines that were written.
Yeah.
At that point, he's not Tyson Fury, so it's pointless. Yeah, you're right. It's simple as that.
Just let him go out there. Honestly, let him go out there. Let him like knock out Mojo Rawley, win the 24/7 title, sing American Pie or whatever he wants to sing, and like that's it.
That's it. That's all you need. It's not a complicated, like, you know, formula here with Fury. It's very simple.
Yeah.
You know, he just is what he is at this point. And but yeah, it was hilarious when he had his run and he was like doing these promos, just looking in absolute terror as he tried to remember every line of his dialogue. That was awesome.
It was so weird because from the limited that I've seen of Tyson Fury, he seemed very charismatic, and everyone tells me like, oh yeah, this guy, like, he has it, very super charismatic and everything. And then if you watch him on WWE, you would be like, who in the hell is this guy? Like,
and he
this
was walking
guy.
out, it's like, he's like from generic music, and he just had like a black shirt, and he was like shadow boxing. And it was like, what is happening? What is this? And this was at the same time they did the Cain Velasquez build,
Which was even
amazing.
worse.
So, yeah, it was an amazing month of WWE TV. But yes, you're right.
Oh my God. Fury looked super confident and super comfortable compared to Velasquez. That press conference with Kane up there trying to speak.
That honestly, like, we should talk about that time because it makes you think, like, Goldberg as champ is nothing compared to that month. Like, that was hellacious, dude. Like, we were building double builds of them two matches. That's craziness. The Cain Velasquez thing was hilarious. The amount of people that told me I should be excited about the Cain Velasquez deal was amazing. I loved every minute of it. It was wonderful.
And the thing is, like, when they do this stuff, there was no bump from it at all. Like, no one tuned in to see Tyson Fury and Cain Velasquez.
Well, I think it's a massive, like, indictment of their modern talent. They thought there's only one way to go off there on Fox, and it's with Cain Velasquez. Like, because the thing is, Fury's not going to bump any numbers, especially then. He might now, like, do something, but at least with him and Braun, like, there's a chance you get a sports talk show to pick it up, if that makes any sense. No one is waiting for what Cain Velasquez is doing next. Like, it's just, that was to me, that was a massive, massive stretch. And also, I'm told he, like, can wrestle, so I don't know why he was brought in as Cain Velasquez, the MMA fighter. But, you know, that's enough about Cain. That's enough about Cain, I guess.
I like how you said we should move on from talking about random MMA fights from the past. Like, we have a better topic to move on to. We're going to talk about basketball, everybody. It's the end of the show. As people, longtime listeners will know, that's what we talk about at the end of the show. Because this is actually a basketball podcast that masquerades as a wrestling podcast.
True.
Zion Williamson, LeBron James. Part 1 was this past week. LeBron won. Part 2 is this weekend. Joe, Zion, and LeBron. This is Goldberg and Fiend right here.
I knew you were going to throw that way with it. I just knew it. And I love the
just
element.
Coming in, destroying the momentum of the new guy.
I absolutely love the element of all the talk about Zion's physique and him being linked to the Fiend, by the way. And I don't know if you realise how great that was when you did it, but it was great. This is the closest I've come to just, like, the Lakers being my pick to win the championship. Because the Pelicans played super quick, which on paper you would think, as much as the Lakers are a good defensive team, like in transition, you would think the Pelicans, the Lakers just stuck with them. They matched them and beat them. It was like, I'm kind of coming around to the idea that LeBron's about to get his job done, and I am. I don't know about you. I know we spoke a little bit off air, and it was like, we're still pretty bullish on the Clippers, and I'm with you on that, but this convinced me a lot more that the Lakers are possibly the front runner. They're super dangerous because they can switch out the other three guys at the end of the game depending on who's playing well. As long as them two are in, they're a problem.
I don't think the Lakers want the Pelicans in the first round. No. That is one thing that you'd rather have Memphis because, okay, Ja is good, but they're banged up. Ja is kind of inconsistent as well, and Memphis has really slipped lately. The Blazers aren't good. Like, yeah, Lillard can catch fire. Everyone knows how to defend Lillard in the playoffs outside of last year's Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, literally everyone else knows how to defend this guy. And then the Spurs, they're just actually not good. But they don't want the Pelicans. They don't want 4 games of Zion, Ingram, Lonzo, like Drew Holiday. Like, those guys are gonna battle on every single possession, and like they're good. Like they're legitimately good. Like, these other teams, they've all got their weaknesses and stuff. So I'm still on the Clippers. I like their talent. Kawhi flips that switch in the playoffs, and he's just a different animal. Paul George, when we were talking yesterday, Paul George is the guy I'm worried about, though. Like, when he's on, he's deadly. But then he's got those games where he's 3 of 20, and it's just like, what has happened to this guy?
You know the interest about the Pelicans, and I'm way out of that fan scene, so I don't know what they're saying. Like, there's a chance, right, that with Drew and JJ, they have 2 assets there that in the summer can get them more draft picks, more youth. Like, this team could be insanely young next year, right? Because I watch the Drew thing's tough. Drew's a great 2-way player, or very good at least. But like Ingram's taking the shots and Zion's like they're your two guys at this point, right? So there is an argument to be made that JJ and Drew are kind of luxuries almost on a young team because you're not going to win it this year or next year, or so that's an interesting thing to follow. I mean, if they get more draft picks, more young talent, I don't even know how they're going to fit all these guys in, but they're set up super nicely.
Yeah, they really are, and I've been a big fan of Brandon Ingram ever since he came out of Duke, and I'm glad to see him flourish in New Orleans. I mean, even Lonzo is playing well this year.
100%.
And, I mean, Zion is just a different animal. Are we writing off the Bucks? Like, it feels like everyone's writing off the Bucks. Are we writing off the Bucks?
Chris Middleton is a super good player, but I'm still... We all know what's going to happen, right? Like, the smart teams are going to, like, wall off on Giannis and, like, it's going to come down to can Bledsoe and Middleton make shots, Brook Lopez. It's like, we should be picking them to win it, shouldn't we? Like, they're just killing teams every night.
They've got the best record in the league. I don't think they're going to break the Warriors record or anything like that. But, like, all the analytics and advanced stats have them as, like, one of the greatest teams of all time. And yet...
Yes.
We're thinking, and it really comes down to just last year in the playoffs because they were this good last year. Maybe not quite this good, but in the regular season, like they were really good last year. And then they lost 4 straight to the Raptors. Like they were 2-0 on that series. They had a chance in Game 3. Fred VanVleet just has a kid and then all of a sudden turns into Steph Curry and Kawhi goes to a different level and they lose to the Raptors. Like, I think, teams can wall off Giannis. He's even better than he was last year, though. Like,
he's a monster,
He's got that kind of mid-range shot, like that kind of fadeaway shot, even better down this year.
You can't really give him that this year.
Yeah.
Like, he makes that a pretty good rate. I guess I understand, like, it's still not a great shot percentage-wise, like in the modern analytics, but I agree with you. I don't really like giving him that shot either.
I don't want to write off the Bucks. I think they're coming out of the East.
They look like a lot now for that, right? Like, I mean, I jinxed Miami Heat, which is the best thing I've ever done on this podcast. But here's the one thing. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't watch a lot of Bucks games because legitimately most of them are complete by half time. Like, they're just so good at this point that I don't even get like a lot of thrill out of it. Like, do you think there is some kind of truth to the notion that late in the game it's going to be hard to run it through Giannis like you can for the rest of the game just because of the way it changes late, right? I don't know if that's the case. They don't have a lot of close games. So, but I do wonder when Kawhi Leonard's guarding him in the finals, let's say, and then you've also got like just bodies around, can you just give the ball to Chris Middleton and be like, okay, go get a bucket, it's the end of the game? I don't know. That's a very... simple cliche way of looking at basketball, but it is. I'll be lying if I said it wasn't my fault at the minute.
I think you can do that with Giannis, and mainly because he is going to trust those other guys. Like, all right, you're going to play the percentages. I mean, Middleton's been really good this year.
Good. It's so mean that we're down him. He's amazing. I'm down him anyway. It's amazing.
I'd rather take my chances with like Bledsoe. Like, I would do everything I could to stop Giannis and Middleton and just. All right, Eric Bledsoe, you beat us at the end of the game because I'm not sure if Bledsoe can do that. But, I understand what you're saying. Like, you want those, like, extremely crafty one-on-one guys to get you that bucket late in the game. And Giannis, I mean, he can get to the rim, but there's also ways of defending that with walling it off and then forcing him into that mid-range or forcing him to give up the ball. But it's tough to doubt the Bucks. Like, it seems very easy to do it, but it's also tough. Like, I mean, all the evidence says they're good.
Like, there's a justice to them winning the championship because they are just a good, like a terrific team, and all they have to hear is about where Greek Freak should try to get traded to.
It's annoying.
Like, in all honesty, as much as like any East team, because I've convinced myself the Sixers were contenders, is like a little bit of a rival to me. Like, it probably would be for the best for the NBA if they actually won it. Because this thing of trying to force Giannis to New York or LA is like, just unbearable. It would probably be better for the league if he just won it with Chris Middleton and Bledsoe and them guys, his co-stars, right? It probably would help everyone rather than it's just constantly funneling things into LA, which is what me and you with our first two topics were like, Clippers or Lakers. Like, we just did it too. It's impossible not to. But yeah, it's surely for the best they win it, really. But we'll see.
I'm with you. I'm like rooting for them to win it because I hate the rings narrative. Like, it's one of the reasons the Thunder became what they are now, which is the best basketball team in the league. But,
True.
Giannis is going to have to deal. Like, if he doesn't win it this year, people are going to be like, yep, got to go to LA, got to go go to the Warriors, like, sign with them. Like,
Oh, that one is unbearable. What is that? Why are we doing this to ourselves where we like talk about Golden State? I don't understand this. And I also don't get, like, so I guess the idea is they trade Wiggins for him.
You trade Wiggins, Draymond, and like any draft capital.
Yeah, but like when they talk about it, that's what they're saying, I guess, right? Wiggins and Draymond. Like, yeah. Why would Milwaukee? I guess then they'd have Middleton and Wiggins as their guys. Surely there'd be better offer out there, right? I assume for a 1-year rental of Greek Freak. Like, he's not leaving this summer anyway, so the trade stuff is pointless. But yes.
Yeah, you're not trading him while he's still under contract. I guess their thinking is a sign and trade. Like,
sign and trade.
Yeah, he signs with Golden State, and then. But even if you're Milwaukee, just let him sign outright. Like, you don't want Andrew Wiggins on that team.
Exactly, yeah, because he couldn't sign outright for them because their cap is like destroyed. Isn't it?
Right,
so,
they would have to because this is what they did with Durant. Is like Durant couldn't sign outright, but Durant wanted to go to that team, and so they're like, all right, Barnes is getting traded. Like, they just traded all their contracts to where they were essentially stripped down to Iguodala, Draymond, Steph, and Clay, and then they just filled in the pieces around those five, which was fairly simple to do.
I just feel like when he's a free agent, if there's not a team with cap space that he wants to go to, I feel like there will be so many like wacky options on the table for the Bucks that are better than Wiggins and Draymond. Like, I just don't get. Yeah. But again, we're doing it now. We're doing it now. Hopefully he doesn't have to leave Milwaukee, as much as it would help me in the Sixers suffering. Because we built a team to beat them, and now have like 2 players left from that team because everyone's hurt, and that's the way it goes. Jeremy, I'm not going to talk about it. I said I wouldn't, but I'm rooting for the Oklahoma City Thunder, as I told you. Chris Paul as Finals MVP is one of the great redemption stories in the history of sports. I'm all in. Sign me up. I'm ready for him to just run through the West. It'd be amazing. Chris Paul guarding Greek Freak down the stretch in finals games, pickpocketed and stuff. It'd be great.
They play tonight. The Bucks and Thunder play tonight. Actually, that's a big game.
Finals preview.
Yeah, finals preview. It's probably not going to be that competitive. OKC played last night, and then it's a back-to-back at Milwaukee. Like, that's a tough ask. But this Thunder team, they scrap. Like, maybe they'll make it close. Yeah. It'll be. I'm not going to be able to watch it. I'll be at a hockey game, but hopefully they play well.
Do you? I mean, we talk about basketball now for about 15 minutes, but are you a little bit regretful that, like you guys didn't move anyone at the trade deadline, right? Do you kind of look back and think, man, what if we'd have just added like a wing rather than taking anything away? Like, they didn't take anything away, so if they'd have added one piece, because 4 of your starters are like very good players, some more so. The wing is a little bit.
Wait, who was the starter that's not good? Don't.
The starter that every night appears to change on the box score. I have no clue what's going on in that position. He started as Ferguson, right?
No, Ferguson's not good actually, but he's on the bench. The great Lou Dort, 2-way player Lou Dort.
That's who's starting now. Yeah. So
he's awesome.
Who started most of the year there then?
Ferguson, and he wasn't good.
Yeah. It's crazy that he played all of last season, right? It's kind of odd when you look back on it.
He shot well last season. Like, he was a very good 3-and-D guy, and then this year, he just can't shoot. And he not only can't shoot, he has no confidence to do anything else. Like, you put the ball in his hands, if he hesitates on his shot, it's essentially a turnover. And right now, with the way he's been shooting, a shot is a turnover as well. It's ugly.
Who was your other star, actually? Jeremy Grant?
Yeah, Jeremy Grant was good.
Yeah, so I just think it's interesting. I mean, if you'd have acquired a different wing, it would be very interesting.
I don't know,
because the team is legit good.
With that thinking is I don't know who was out there. I guess they could have gotten in on Covington. Really, they could have gotten in on anyone. I would have been all in.
I'd be all in if you'd have got Covington. Yes, good idea, Jeremy. Let's go back in time. Let's redo this.
Like, you offer any of those first round picks, and you could have gotten in on literally anyone you would have gotten.
Yeah.
But I don't think that was their thinking. Their thinking was, we're gonna ride it out with this team, see what happens, and then in the off season we'll start trying to figure things out from there. I'm fine with that.
100%.
I really love the position they're in because there's no expectations if they don't win the title this year. They got to win 1 or 2 playoff games. 2 playoff games, and they're already better than they were last year.
That's crazy, right? That is so wild, man. That is mad. We were talking about it, but Rockets Thunder is like the ultimate narrative series of all narratives. Like, there's so much stuff going on there story-wise. That would be unbearable for you, I understand that. But it'd be a lot of fun for me to watch as, like, just neutral Covington / Jeremy Lambert supporter, you know?
It would be a great series if the Thunder win, but if they lose, then it's going to be not so great of a series with all the narratives around that. But I'm not doubting this Thunder team. This Thunder team is the best team maybe not the best team, the most enjoyable team I've watched since I've started really have a rooting interest in the Thunder, because
that's cool.
Expectations are just, they're not there, and they're good, and it's fun. Like, I feel for you. I know what it's like to be in that position.
Yeah, you can relate to
yes,
this.
I can relate. It's very weird how, like, Thunder and Sixers fans are very, like, intertwined with that, because I have other Sixers friends, and they're just like, this season is miserable, and it's... I
legit think, like, if you polled Sixers fans, they'd just, like, resign the season, like, just forfeit, just leave the season, give them the 9 spot, the playoff spot, you know, like, we're done, we're finished, go home, let everyone heal, and we'll figure out how we're going to get away from some of these contracts. That's where we're all at, I think.
That's exactly where Thunder fans have been over the past few years. So it's, and the parallels too with, like, losing games you should win because, like, your team just decides, like, this is an easy game, we'll just coast, or blowing leads in the fourth quarter. Like, I get it. Like, anytime I see this Sixers stuff, I was like, I get it.
Yeah, it's also the thing of, like, Russ would always end up in national media. Like, after the first triple-double thing, he would always end up in national media for something that was, like, a criticism. That's also very Sixers.
Yes, that's like, very Embiid right now.
I couldn't believe, after Ben got a back injury, it was like, Embiid had a 49-point game. The next day, they were like, should they just ditch Simmons and move on? It's like, Jesus, man. Guys just got injured a day ago. Like, it's just chill a little bit. But yeah, that stuff is also awful. That's very much... We're kindred spirits, right? We understand what it's going through here.
Yeah. Well, as I've learned from the Thunder in the playoffs, don't, no matter what happens, just don't buy in. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Don't watch the hype video. No. Just leave it. Just suffer. Just sort of grimace through it, and you'll be fine. That's
I
good
remember last year being... Cause, do you remember how crazy, like, the final day of the season was last year, where, like, Portland rested all their starters, and, like, if they had lose, they would have been, like, the 4th seed, but they ended up winning, so they were the third. Like, and, like, all, like, Denver had, like, this, like, 30-point comeback against the Kings. I'm over exaggerating, but, like, it was like all this crazy stuff had to happen for the seedings to break a certain way, and, like, they broke that way. And I was looking at it from Thunder fans, like, oh, we got Portland. Like, Portland's not that good. And then we can get Denver in the second round. Like, all right, they've killed us, but, like, that's a better matchup, right? Like that, you don't want the Warriors or the Rockets. Like, that's good. Like, man, they could make the Western Conference Finals. Like, you talk yourself into it, and then you realize, like, Russ can't shoot. Paul George shoulder is just completely burned. Donovan, for some reason, can't scheme to double high on Lillard, and or blitz Lillard on the pick and roll, and it's just like, sure. Like, I talked myself into this team being in the Western Conference Finals, and they win one playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's, like, something to take from that. Even in your best case, you knew the limitations. You just didn't realize how far them limitations took. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it would have been worse if you was looking at, like, Golden State, take them in 6, you know, like. But yeah, that was tough. That Portland series was tough. But, you know, we don't have to bring up negative things, Jeremy. We've had enough suffering today.
Look, that shot gave us this version of the Thunder. So
True. I thought you were going to say, give us this podcast, and I was thinking, did it? I was like so confused then for a moment, but yeah, you're right, it did. He gave you Chris Paul, point guard.
Point God, Chris Paul. I love that guy. What a babyface turn that man has had this year.
The best. The absolute best.
All right, we're going to wrap things up. I like how we always go like 15 minutes over with basketball talk.
Yeah.
We will be back in our normal time slots of... when's our normal? 7 o'clock on Thursdays. Next week, we had to make some adjustments due to WWE counter-programming against us. What a bunch of dicks they are for that. Joe, what do you have going on? You got the big Hangman Page feature coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, I have to apologise because I did claim that this was the first AEW feature. I did a feature about AEW's first show, so that should show you how much I know about what's going on. But yes, Hangman Page tomorrow, I believe, I've been told anyway. I'm very excited for Revolution. The Twitter gimmick, you know the Twitter deal. The Twitter's very bad right now. I don't even want to endorse my thing, but I'm there if you need me. We all know the rules, and next week back to the usual time slot. This was fun though, having the brightness gleam off the side of my face. I enjoyed it. It was felt different vibes today, and we amped up the NBA talk, which is always good,
Follow Joe on Twitter at JoeHulbert5. You can see it if you're watching on YouTube in the graphic below. You can find me on Twitter at Jeremy Lambert88. I'll be around all weekend with Revolution stuff. Fightful.com, everyone. Sean's going to be in Chicago this week, which means I get to run the site and do what I want with it.
Hi, Chancellor.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Sean and Jimmy don't listen to this show, so they're going to be like, what is he talking about? Yeah, Fightful.com will have plenty of coverage of AEW Revolution. There's like some ROH shows going on this week as well. Evolve is on Facebook. Joe, tell the people how excited you are for Evolve on Facebook.
I'm telling you now, when they sell the pay-per-views off the network and try to email me about Evolve being the new shit I'm paying for, that will be a different episode of Distraction, I promise you. That's a moment I'm not intending to reach anytime soon. Trust me.
Getting Fightful.com, FightfulSelect.com. You can get Joe's features early. If you want to raid that Hangman Page feature 24 hours before it comes out, go to FightfulSelect.com. I believe it's on I believe you're on the $10 tier. You're big time.
I was going to say, you can do that, but if you DM me and send me $100, I'll email it to you immediately. So you're if you want to spend more money, you're a little bit crazy, but it would be very nice for me, But you have to make the offer. I'll just ignore it if it's not up to par. I'm thinking 100 is minimum, Jeremy. Is that okay, do you think? It's a lot of words, right? It's a lot of words. So.
Look, I have early access to all this. I could have DM'd you much, much earlier. If you want it from me, $50. I'm undercutting you big time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you just took me off the market immediately on day one. Yeah. Yes,
FightfulSelect.com, you get exclusive news, extra audio, early access to Joe's columns, things like that. Everyone check out if you're excited for Revolution, AEW Power Rankings, brought to you by yours truly. Real sports, a lot of real fake news in the Power Rankings. I baited people with the headline this week to get those extra clicks.
No.
Yeah.
What was the headline? I didn't see the headline.
It was like Jon Moxley was fined for headbutting Chris Jericho, and then I had a gimmick on what is Chris Jericho's mindset going into the Revolution match. So get people to click and then realize, wait a second, this is satire here. This isn't actual news.
In many ways, all wrestling is satire. So
exactly.
You're doing it the right way because you're just being upfront with it. That's the way it should be, I feel.
Exactly. Thank you. Not a troll. How dare Sean? Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Normal time slot, 7 p.m. on Thursday. Hope everyone enjoys the weekend.